Welcome back, everyone. Mike McConville here again. Thanks for joining us. We have a 1946 Southern Jumbo, and there's several things about this guitar that are a bit unusual, and I'll point them out as we go. So Gibson guitars of this vintage, one of the distinct features that you'll pick up pretty quickly is the tapered thickness of the headstock. The tip of the headstock here is 7/16, and it thickens up to 5/8 of an inch here, which from a structural standpoint is a great thing. Now, what's unusual about this particular guitar, this is sort of the last of the script logo, but the famous banner decal is missing. So this was 1946. The following year they changed the Gibson script to the square block decal. It's interesting because the last time I worked on this guitar, when the customer contacted me, after talking to her and thinking about it, it was 27 years ago. I thought, oh wow, now I really feel old. Anyways, way back then I did swap out those machine heads. We got a perfect match to those original heads, the footprint on the back. And typically what happens to these is the plastic shrinks and eventually just crumbles and falls off. We got that identical footprint on the back, used the original holes. These machine heads 27 years later work perfectly fine. And this is our compensated nut. This is our compensated cantilevered bone bridge saddle. And we will go through the tuning check in a second. You'll see just how accurate this is. And you'll see now, astoundingly, there is not a single crack in this soundboard. All kinds of lacquer checking, of course, but that's fine. That's just par for the course. And this back is a one-piece mahogany back. One piece of Honduras mahogany. It's funny because they have that center splice inside. Really, it was kind of a moot point. It wasn't really needed because it wasn't book matched. It's one piece of mahogany. So this is the hairline crack that we're going to have to deal with. It looks like it's closed up pretty good now that the humidity is rolled in. There are multiple capo wounds on the back of this neck, and it's pretty common this era. You know, people were using capos for one thing, and the other thing they were using was those nut risers so that they could play slide as well. And so I found these in the case, which is sort of evidence that he probably did do some slide on this guitar, which is not a big deal. Despite that, it's survived quite well. I found this capo in the case as well. I'm just looking at the footprint here, and that would have been the capo that ended up doing the damage. Kind of ingenious invention, but not the best for the guitar. Other than that, it's just lacquer checking and regular bumps and scratches and chips that you typically find on instruments of this age. Well, I did manage to get the action down nice and close, but it's due for a neck reset. But you know, we squeaked by right now. This is presentable. Very nice to play. No need for a neck reset at this moment in time. For all of you Patch Around 3 guys that are doing these compensated nuts, these are the stages that I went through to get this thing to line up. Now this is the compensated cantilevered bridge saddle, and this was after the calibration from 7th to 19th fret was done. All of you guys that have been through this know how much work it is to get this right. Anyway, this thing plays amazing and tunes even more amazingly. We'll go in the house and have a listen, get away from the traffic on the street here, so you can see clearly on the tuner just how accurate this is. The other thing that's interesting, this is the original bridge. Although it looks like a through route bridge, it's not. It actually stops from here to here. That's the original saddle, and I have found on these guitars that the actual radius of the crown of the saddle is not even close to the fingerboard. This is a very high arch in this fingerboard. That original saddle was pretty well straight across. So now we have the proper arching and the intonation values all the way across all 6 strings. Okay, we'll start with the calibration. I do have my foam mutes at the bridge to cancel out any overtones. of which there are plenty on this guitar. This is an amazing guitar. You hear that every day, but these 40s Gibsons are really their own thing. The string spacing is quite wide on this guitar, and yet the neck is wide enough that there's lots of room from the outside diameter of the two outside strings to the outside of the fingerboard itself, which makes it great for fingerstyle stuff. That Adirondack spruce top grain, very open grain. And the top end, when you're doing single line stuff, you know, it's funny, this guitar has like a very fast attack and a quick decay. It's not a huge sustaining guitar. And of course, there's all these sympathetic overtones. That's why I use that low density foam to just mute the other strings as I did the setup. Amazing instrument. So I put this on the scale, and the total weight of this guitar is 4 pounds. It is just feather light. And that's where that attack comes from.